is my quarter on the table right now because I brought
Take it. All right. Take it. Okay.
I brought a prop. I have props over here, but I have a very special prop.
All right. Good enough.
This is my OG vinyl copy of the Repo Man soundtrack, which I bought before I'd even seen this fucking movie.
Because of what's on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because of what? I'll make this quick. Yeah. So this came out.
Great Spanish cover of Secret Agent.
I did not catch this movie until it finally showed up at Moon Valley Video somewhere around March or so of 1985. So I missed the initial theatrical run, but I had the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of those, I don't know, I was probably like 19 at the time. This is one of those movies that, you're at that age and you see the movie poster and I go, oh shit, it's Henry Dean Stanton from Alien. And I don't know Emilio that well, but this is literally what I was dressing like at that point. And these are all the bands that I was listening to at that point. And this movie was clearly made for me.
I'm fucking shocked.
Well, it's literally your generation.
And you wear out the soundtrack 5 months before you even get a chance to see the friggin' movie. And then you finally see the movie and you go, well, I thought there was going to be more punk rock, but boy, I was not prepared for all the space aliens.
Yeah, right. and loopy dialogue and things like
they
that.
They had little punk rock, but they had a punk attitude.
Yeah, I saw this film when it came.
Chad, I know you've got this too. I bought I bought like 5 or 6 times on VHS, Beta, DVD, etc. I had 2 laser discs, and it gets funnier and better every flipping time that I see it. But I'll tell you, this time we'll get into all of it, I'm sure. But this time, what really I was noticing and paying attention to, now that we've seen a couple of other movies that he shot, was just how gloriously beautiful the cinematography is in this movie.
Oh, Robbie Mueller. I know. It's like
Robbie Mueller is a god.
Yes, we're his fan club, man.
I read all the. Do you know who was?
Noticed how beautiful this movie was before.
Yes, it was.
I was too busy running lines through the entire running time like I usually do, but boy, this is well shot. And it
I read all of the trivia questions.
Yeah,
do you know who one of the camera ops was?
No.
Robert Richardson.
Oh fuck.
Wow.
Who is now an Academy Award nominated, or I think even winner cinematographer.
Oh yeah, well,
he was one of Robbie's camera ops on this.
Yeah,
great.
One of his first.
Did I tell you how I first saw this movie? I went down to visit my friend David, who's in No Exit. No exit. He was going to UCLA.
Keep plugging your band, man.
I drove. Thank you. I had to do props, but I drove down there to see him. He was going to UCLA at the time, and he basically walked into his dorm and he just grabbed me by the collar and says, "We're going to go see a movie right now." He wouldn't say a word to me until he went down to the Band National in Westwood, bought a ticket, sat down, and watched it. He said, "I can't talk to you until you see this film first." So we watched it, and it was like, wow, because
guy.
It was out for like a week, and he'd seen it like 3 times. So there it was. But it was a pretty profound. I had to wait for weeks for it to come out in Santa Cruz.
It's one of the most quotable movies in.
It is one of the most quotable movies ever. Like the whole decade.
Great script full of quotes.
It's a colossally great script.
Mm-hmm.
There are line readings like I'm still kind of pissed that they didn't go another couple on when Emilio Estevez says the word intense. Like it's just totally wrong coming out of his mouth. It just doesn't sound like a kid from the valley.
Right.
There are just enormous, it's like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. There are enormous chunks of dialogue that I can just hear 1,000 times and it's still funny to me.
Right. Well, the whole opening scene of the main story with a crane shot inside the grocery store and feeling 7-Up, I'm feeling
that's Sandra Schloss.
I know, but it was like, that's going on. I'm like, well, this is a film we've been handed here and we're going to see where this goes. And it went exactly where I thought it was going to go.
So I imagine that you guys being sort of the age of when this came out,
dude,
like Tad and myself had to probably, I'm assuming here, see this. Obviously, like I didn't see it until I was, I don't know, well into my 20s or something, because it was like a cult film, right?
It was a cult film, but it been running through like repertory theaters for a long time.
Yeah, like it was like obviously Tad and I weren't old enough when this was at the theater, and we just had to know it by reputation probably. And I just remember like not knowing anything about this movie, but realizing people would talk about it and love it and quote it, and then knowing its cult status and being like, oh. And it was definitely one of those movies that was even better when I watched it than everything I had heard about it.
Right. That's great.
Oh, I have a way weirder.
I was in my late 20s just for the
yeah.
I have a way weirder introduction to this
by all
movie,
means.
which is I think I was about 9 when I saw this movie for the first time.
Oh my God. It's almost too young to see it, but keep going.
Because this movie was shown on TV occasionally. And my father hated movies. Like he hated most forms of like popular entertainment.
Sounds like my dad, but yeah.
But for some reason, he loved the fuck out of Repo Man. And
because this is not conventional.
No, we
in
sat
any way, shape,
on
or form.
We sat on the couch one day when I was like 9 years old and watched the TV version of this with the absolutely
dubbing
hysterical
I know.
dubbing. It's this and Goodfellas are the two best
Oh man, I can only
TV
imagine.
versions.
Do you remember some of the
melon farmer?
You
Yes.
melon farmer. That's
Yes, if you can ever find this on TV and you can watch the dubbing that they did
gives you a whole new layer of enjoyment.
Oh, it's so funny.
I heard actually.
I don't know, dude. You should see the TV version of The Running Man. It's pretty fucking dope.
That's the first way I ever saw The Running Man.
Yeah,
me too.
the thing I will say, like, this is the first time I ever heard like the words neutron bomb. Like,
oh yeah,
like that's one of those things to me that I'll never forget.
Eyes melt, skin explodes, everybody dead.
This might be my first ever opinion I had about Los Angeles. Like, like this is like we didn't have TV until I was about 9. So like I didn't really understand much of the world outside of where I lived, you know, which was Lower Manhattan.
Certainly, you didn't have a picture in your head,
right? I had no like
what
Los
these places
Angeles
were like.
Los Angeles barely meant anything to me, probably until I saw this film, and then I was like,
so much
people just. Yeah. Yes. One. So much
driving.
Because I'd barely been in a car by that point in my life, and then two. Also, they're driving through like drainage ditches and the Los Angeles River.
Yeah. And also, no one ever wears a coat, and the weather's always nice all the time,
except for when it hails ice out of the sky.
Well, yeah, well, that's they're worried about that on the radio before this happens. Yes, exactly.
There's so many good radio bits in this. There's so many.
There's tons of little details everywhere in this film.
I never
plate of shrimp sign at the gas station. That one, yeah.
You never noticed that?
Never noticed plate of shrimp before.
Oh my god.
This is RoboCop levels of like you have to pay attention to every single thing.
Both foreign directors.
You see
both foreign directors and both satires of Reagan's America.
Yeah, I could put this in the RoboCop world along with.
No, it is. It probably
is.
Sorry to bother you.
Yeah, OCP and Sorry to Bother You are in this universe. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to put forth the theme I'm talking about. Now, do you agree with me or not? But here goes. Who is the author of Repo Man? Why is it so funny and memorable and have great lines in it?
And why isn't?
And I'm going to argue
Michael Nesmith from the fucking Monkees.
Not Alex Cox, because you think of any other Alex Cox movie, quote a line. Quote a line.
It's Michael Nesmith from the Monkees.
Hold on.
Don't say Sid and Nancy.
Genuinely great.
Okay, quote a line from
Sid and Nancy.
Who wrote Sid and Nancy?
I think he did.
He adapted Ebert's screenplay.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's nothing.
Because Ebert was.
And I have a lot of love. I think Jim and I are probably the only ones saw Straight to Hell, but I've got the Blu-ray downstairs.
But can you memorize it? Can you?
Let's make the Wiener Kid sing a song. Yeah, you wanna?
Yeah. Well, okay, that's it though. This one. This is an hour and a half long brain worm. The entire movie.
There's a big fall off from Repo Man to Sid and Nancy and Straight to Hell and Walker.
Walker,
which is the argument that this is Michael Nesmith's secret movie. He jammed his stuff. This is post Elephant Parts. This was past the Monkees. He had a sensibility for doing stuff that was quick and memorable, and he was shoving this into the film. Probably confrontationally throughout the entire production.
Oh, they apparently got into a fist fight.
Yeah, they did.
Point.
That's the thing. They did. They would not get along. Really? A lot of this was sheer force of will.
Also, yeah, it sounds like Harry Dean Stanton is a fucking nightmare to work with.
This was a lot of this was sheer force of will.
Also, yeah, it sounds like Harry Dean Stanton is a fucking nightmare to work with. Also, yeah, it sounds like Harry Dean Stanton is a fucking nightmare to work with.
Well,
I'm not surprised.
No, yeah, he was.
I love that he keeps complaining about like when I was on 2-Lane Blacktop, and it's like, man, motherfucker, everyone hates that movie except
Everybody
for like
hates that
weird
movie.
car guys.
Really
Except for Quentin Tarantino.
Actually, the thing I bet she was.
Well, he's also a weird car guy.
He was literally, he was pretty much top billing. You know, he was Estevez, but he was just starting out. But he was probably thought he was a top billed guy.
I don't think I knew him from Adam, other than maybe he was in.
He was 21 years old when they were making this.
I remember him.
Stanton.
His father used to make these weird little Catholic PSAs around late night on television, and he would be in a lot of them.
Nah, Execution of Private Slovak.
All right, I don't remember that one.
Stanton apparently refused. Stanton refused to memorize his lines, and Alex Cox was very upset about that. Obviously,
whatever Michigas was going on when they made this movie, it worked.
Well, apparently, he got around it by there was something in the contract that Alex could point out and say, listen, if you don't actually learn your lines, your contract is going to be null and void, or you're going to be fired from the or something. And so Harry Dean said,
you don't get your SGA.
Or yeah. So he eventually memorized the lines.
Yeah. You can tell he's probably the line he was talking about seeing a UFO was actually some of the lamest improvisation in the film, probably. So these weird lights, and you could tell he wasn't trying.
It's like Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Find out how they made it, and wow, how is this movie still great after all that? Same thing here.
But no, there's that skill that went into it was actually like crafting this like a bunch of little music videos, memorable little moments, bing, 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 great dialogue, pow, pow, pow. There's no long line.
A number of people who worked on this, including actors, went on to direct music videos.
Yeah, see, there it is. So it's like that sensibility there. I thought there were a few clunkers here and there. I think that in some ways it's kind of a dumb movie. I thought that the punk girl, I thought she was flat in every scene she was in.
Well, but also she's so
supposed to be
fucking put upon in this movie.
I'll give you that.
She's so. I actually really like her character because she strikes me as the kind of yes, her character is in the middle of something that's extreme in this picture, but you kind of know that person in your life who was that age who thought everything they were doing was way more important than it really was.
I'll give you that.
She's that person. She's like, don't you know that everything I do is fucking,
you're talking about Layla, the UFO girl.
Yeah.
Except she's right. She's actually right.
She is right, but she still has that like annoying. But I liked it. Also, I think she's quite cute. But like,
she's cute.
It's this exaggerated performance that she's.
The United Fruitcake outlet is really summarized by the woman who comes in and finds him with his pants down and her standing there arguing with him.
We have a meeting in 2 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a bit just before that where she's in the floorboards of the car, don't want to get spotted. Yeah. And in the movie, in the theater, I remember seeing she has a happy face ritual watch, and then the needles have come off, the pointers.
Yeah.
They're just rolling around in her watch. This doesn't work at all.
But also happy face cookies in the convenience store. There's happy face cookies that
there are. That theme shows.
And Emilio Estevez starts wearing the happy face button.
The government agent with the Michael Jackson glove.
You found her in something else.
She has a steel hat. She has a steel arm. Yeah, that's good.
No, she doesn't. She has a sequin glove on.
It was supposed to actually be a robot hand, but
there's a budget issue.
They couldn't afford it. There was like a button. They couldn't do the. So they just
they couldn't afford it because they had to buy a second Chevy Malibu.
I tell you,
the first one got stolen.
Did it really?
Yes.
Yeah.
It keeps getting funnier.
Hold on.
Then they found it. Yeah. So they had two.
This scene
it was just abandoned in Riverside. Yeah. It was just left on the side of the road.
But it was like in perfect condition.
A 64 Malibu. Who wanted one back then? Nobody. They were terrible cars back then.
It was probably the punks from this movie who actually stole it and just left it on the side of the road.
If you watch the scene behind the opening behind Chris, when the cop comes up there, it's the actor who looks, I think, a lot like maybe how Dennis Hopper would look.
A lot like Dennis Hopper, yeah.
Yeah.
Who they wanted to cast in this movie.
Yeah,
he would have been great.
But if you look at the cutaway where he's like, "Give me the keys," and it's a wide shot from the back, that's Alex Cox as the driver He's clearly not wearing sunglasses. It's so bad. It's
doesn't
like,
match at all.
what are you doing? Like, even if it had to be Alex Cox, it's like, put the glasses on him. But they didn't even do that. It's just him sitting in there.
This scene right here, the one where he's quitting, I'll come back for my stuff when the place don't stink so bad.
Stink so much. Yeah.
But on the TV is a sketch from Elephant Parts playing. Michael about Art Barn or something like that. Picasso's $9.95. We're giving him away, and it's like going on in the background. So that's his cameo in film.
No one ever called Pablo Picasso an asshole.
Oh, and also that security cop was great because it's like I loved his little speech about being a prison guard in Attica. So you don't get the right to say "fuck you" to me because you haven't earned it. Like, what?
Also, I want to point out that he says he was in both World Wars.
Yeah, like that.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
I don't think you were, sir.
Goddamn,
he was in the last World War.
I don't think you're 90 years old, sir.
Who did the incidental music? The kind of guitar that plays throughout most.
It's
the score.
The score, yeah.
Hold on.
It's not Iggy Pop.
No,
it's not Jack Nietzsche.
Is it Jack?
No,
because the surf guitar stuff is flipping great.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm thinking. There's a neat surf.
And they never,
surf
as far as I
soundtrack.
know, they never actually did like a follow-up soundtrack that was just the incidental stuff. It was.
They should have, huh?
Jim, sorry, you said you've seen this movie 100 times.
I said 150,000 times.
Same here, at least. I've seen this so many times.
A lot.
I've seen this so many times. I had a bootleg copy on VHS that was in constant rotation.
This was a movie that when you have friends over, you could always put on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Even if they'd seen it, they didn't mind seeing it again.
Yeah.
I feel like it's interesting. One of the things that's interesting about this movie is that people treat it as this sort of like low budget classic, but this was made for $1.5 million in 1983, which is like $4.5 million now. And like, yeah, that's low budget, but that's not anywhere near what we think about.
I'm sure a lot of it went to pay the actors.
And Robbie Mueller, because Nesmith came to Cox and was like, who do you want to film this? He's like, I will make whatever room in the budget it takes to get who you want. And he'd had such a bad time working on American films at that point that he didn't want to do it. And then they were like, read the script.
But he read the script and he fell in love with it.
Yeah.
But they also had to push, like, Robbie wanted to do so many wide shots and two-person shots that like the producers were like, it would be cheaper and faster and be more American looking if we did like singles and close-ups and shit like that. And he was like, that's not what I want to do. And so there was like a big kind of fight over the budget for a while too. And Alex was trying to back, Robbie.
Well, there's very little cross-cutting. There's very little shot.
A lot of it is two shots, and a lot of it is wide.
Yeah, because he wanted to have that aesthetic.
I know. See, this is definitely half this film was Golden Hour, Twilight, or Night.
Or
that was
the
Robbie
fluorescent bulbs.
Or fluorescent bulbs. Yeah, I did a lot of green.
Yeah.
Well, that was the LA. Those green street
bulbs.
lights that they had back then in the 80s. That's like, it's one of those nostalgic things you don't see.
The night shots in this movie.
Well, yeah, the sulfur bulbs.
Yeah.
And apparently the car at the end, that's not an effect. They actually painted the car so that when lights hit it, it would glow like that.
I was wondering because it's a great effect. It looks really good.
So it's not an effect. I mean, it is an effect, but it's not something they superimposed. It's a practical
effect. So they put reflective paint on it, and then they pointed a light at it.
Not right. They put sticky stuff all over the car, and then they put retroreflective beads all over it.
Yeah, and they painted it with a special kind of paint kind
of paint. The thing is that the light, the light near the camera lens was green. So
and then it just went.
It almost looks like they processed it and made a negative out of it or something.
Yeah,
weird.
It's a fabulous effect, and the thing is,
it's because it's basically burning the film.
Yeah,
like it's throwing so much light back at the film that it's just like, oh no.
It gives it a way that you see Estevez's eyes. They're green on the pupils because
it's super cool.
In his eyeballs,
Such a smart way to do it.
Yeah, it's very clever. And of course, they had to have like probably just a forklift lifting the car.
Yeah, probably.
It's obviously a forklift at the very beginning when it starts going.
It lurches.
It goes.
Yeah, and then I think it's a helicopter after that.
Yeah, And
Having
not
shot
great
scenes with a
helicopter shots, but
forklift, I
better
know
than nothing.
exactly.
Helicopter shots.
Yeah.
That was good
Yeah,
stuff.
those shots at the end are really dumb.
That was
Yeah.
I want.
So greatly dumb.
I want to. I'm sorry that I need to break up the love fest for a second.
It's
but
okay.
there's-
That's
Fuck
why we're
you.
here.
I'm gonna fight you in Temecula, Tad. Watch
Okay,
it.
cool. Why don't you listen to what I have to say first? I really like this movie. I really like this movie. I have gotten to the point watching it over and over again that I feel like the kind of stoner philosophy that pervades this movie is really frustrating. And I'm not just talking about like Miller's stuff. Like I'm talking about the sort of like
The parents.
well, no, I'm talking more about like Bud's character in terms of like, oh, he's the quintessential Reaganite Republican who strongly believes that like everybody would be better off if they just didn't spend above their means and they had a good credit score and all that other shit. And it's like the one time that Estefez pushes back against that when he's like, they're winos, they don't have money. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Like, I feel like that isn't a good enough pushback on that
I can see
for
that's what you're saying. You know, it makes
for the satire to fully work for me. And
But Miller's not tremendous. Well, sorry, Estevez's character is not particularly.
Otto.
Otto is not that bright, right? So
no, he's not.
No, he's very naive.
That's
that's
probably
not-
about as good as he was going to come up with for his character. I mean, whether
right, I just don't feel like I just don't feel like the movie hits that particular slow pitch
Well,
good enough.
Let me. Another way of putting it is that you think that the politics of the film are kind of off the shelf liberalism.
It's not just off the shelf liberalism, it's also like it is stoner philosophy. There is a real level of stoner philosophy in this movie that I just feel like breaks down, that Cox probably thought at the time was really insightful. And as it gets further and further away from that time period, it does start to feel more like standard liberal philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like it doesn't
come across to me that way. I think he's more like a Verhoeven, that it's
social commentary.
It's a critique.
Yeah,
Because
I can see that.
You know,
it's a satire.
He's got
I feel
Otto's
no
parents. He's got all the different Repo Men are like that too. They're all kind of misfits.
Right.
And I think Harry Dean Stanton's character, we love him because it's Harry Dean Stanton, but his character is actually just a bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
No, they're all assholes in one way or another. No, it's my I'm not talking about particularly on a character level. I'm just talking about I feel like the overall philosophy concepts that they're trying to put out there just fall flat to me.
I think Scott had a moment. There was such a love fest going on for so long here, but Scott did have a moment of clarity a few minutes ago when he said, or maybe it's just kind of dumb.
It is. This film doesn't have a. It doesn't have a point.
It doesn't have a point or a point of view.
It
really.
never did.
I think it absolutely has a point of view.
It has.
I strongly disagree.
I think it has a lot of things it's trying to say, but it's really scattered. And the film
maybe it doesn't take itself so seriously. And
I feel like it is meandering and doesn't quite have a point.
Yeah, it doesn't need.
It
lags in the middle for me.
Picaresque.
I've seen it a bunch of times, and actually, when Scott you assigned it, it was like, okay. And I thought about rewatching it.
You've all seen it a billion times. That's
right. I thought about rewatching it, and I realized that
watch again tomorrow.
It finally came to me that it dawned on me that I sort of categorized this movie with The Big Lebowski as one of those movies my friends like a lot. that I'm just kind of lukewarm on. I don't think it's
You
particularly.
don't like the Big Lebowski? You communist.
They're both mildly
actually don't
amusing
like
and
the
they're
Big
fine,
Lebowski.
and I don't never really need to see them again.
I think Lebowski. I
I know that
think
your
what
plate is still in
Lebowski
there.
has that this movie
So, hey,
doesn't
in the
have
future,
is that
You
Lebowski
put your
is
dinner away,
way
and then you
funnier
clean up. Doesn't that
than
make sense to
this.
you?
Like, I think the comedy
Don't
in
shrug.
Lebowski
You don't clean
lands
up.
much
Well, you
better.
could. Dinner's still in there. You can still do
This might be a
that.
generational thing, but I didn't see that.
I don't know.
Lebowski.
Yeah.
But
You're too young to know what
They're
comedy
kind of about the
is.
same level for me in that regard. There's a lot of stuff in Lebowski that I think just sort of falls flat.
The thing is, there's a reason it took me this long to come around to recommending
Yeah,
this
yeah,
film,
yeah.
because
You
I've
want
seen it
you
so-
want 60s documentaries from TV on fucking cats getting run over.
I was
That
sorry,
wasn't
John,
a
you
that
got
wasn't a
your number.
documentary.
I do?
Felt like one.
I feel
You-
like
JT.
I probably don't
Yeah.
watch this movie nearly as much as Chris, but I love this movie. But it's nice to like. I had the DVD sitting. I mean, I probably haven't seen this movie for fucking years, so it's
watched
great
it
to like break it
years.
out every once in a while. Like just
Even
to,
if it comes up on cable, like I've seen this and it changed the channel. You know what I mean? I just wanted to hear. I want to hear what you guys thought of it, which is why it's here.
This is a
I guess I'm fond of it, but I don't think it's very good.
Wow, that's actually one of the harshest things I've
It's
seen
a
someone say
Mount
about this.
Rushmore movie for me.
Yeah. I think it was very good. I think
You
you know, I said
wouldn't know
before,
good
you put
if
this
it
up against
hit you on
RoboCop
the
because this is the
ass.
RoboCop universe. It doesn't have
I-
it doesn't
it's
have
n-
that Verhoeven point.
It's not
It doesn't
as-
have
no,
that
it's
Verhoeven-
not as smart as RoboCop or Sorry to Bother You.
Yeah.
But I love sort of the anarchist spirit of
Me
this
too.
movie.
It's relaxing to watch. It's funny as fuck.
Yeah, I wish it was.
Yeah.
My point is, I wish it was a little further in that direction. Like I kind of don't like the punk criminals as like
Comic relief.
And I don't care
Oh
for
my
Harry
god,
Dean
no,
Stanton's
they're so
character.
fucking funny, dude.
It kind of feels like Harry Dean Stanton's phoning it in. Like he's
But-
just like, I'm just going to be cranky in every episode.
I still deeply enjoy this movie.
No,
Like,
I'm going to back up Tad in this one. In that it's fun to watch, but it could be better. You know what I mean? A couple more.
Well, I don't
rewrites.
think it's supposed to be.
Yeah, the
It is, but it is. But this is one of those.
It's not trying to. I don't think it's trying to say something like.
This is kind of like
it's-
signal. It's kind of like.
oh, I know it's absolutely trying to say something. You don't go to the depths that this movie does in terms of like everything is a brand X product,
Mhm.
and all of
Yes,
those brand
yeah.
X products are slightly
Generic.
funny.
But I mean that I know it's trying to say something. I mean, I think that you're digging so deep that you are like, it can still be a satire on consumerism
Oh, it
and
absolutely is.
Reaganism and all that shit without being super profound.
Right. I
Right.
wish it were a little more.
Yeah,
It's kind
that's
of
fair. That's a fair critique.
You know, when thinking about that,
I just think that, and maybe if it was, it would be a
It's
better
fair,
movie,
I
but
just
it's
don't
still
like
fun.
you know, the
Yeah,
thing-
no, I still like I haven't bought 75 versions of this like Chris has,
Yeah,
but
because
I
you
still
hated it, right?
I still truly deeply like this
Uh-huh.
movie. I
It
enjoyed
does have a lot of
myself.
quotable lines.
I
Don't think
enjoyed
it-
myself watching it. I just had the last like 2 or 3 times that I've watched it, I've had this just slight niggling feeling in the back of my head where it's like, oh, I wish this was a little more than what it is. I just
that's your
wish it was.
ideology trying to direct you.
That's
yeah,
what everyone
actually,
does all
I-
the time.
I think
I
what
know.
you uncovered though is I think what you uncovered here is actually the secret message of the film in some ways. Yeah, because I agree with what Tad's saying in terms of this being a somewhat pointless film.
Yeah,
The end of the film, when the UFO's there and it's a pile with Cy and Layla and Otto, and he gets invited by Tracy Walters' character, I think Miller, to come in the car, and he starts getting up, and Layla's saying, "What about our relationship?" He goes,
Fuck
"What?
that.
What about our relationship?" And he says, "Fuck that."
That's my
The thing is,
favorite line in the whole
that's the
movie.
that's the
She
char-
asks him that twice.
I know.
Yeah.
What did
He's
she
a
say
huge
first?
piece of shit. He's
No,
an
it's not
enormous
that.
piece
No,
of shit.
It's the
No,
Guys,
he's not.
I just had a huge.
it's not. It's the character talking to the audience.
Yeah.
It's like none of this shit is my. This is the movie's their relationship, and I don't care.
You
It's
guys,
the car
I just
leaves.
had this huge realization. This light bulb just came on. The ending of this film is the same as Spielberg's Close Encounters.
Yes, exactly.
It's the
right.
same ending.
Only
All
a
these
few-
government guys are lined up to get on board the
And much
spaceship, and
better.
instead it's like, no, we want that guy, Roy
want that
Neary,
guy.
the
Yeah.
guy from the
Yeah.
pickup truck.
Only 8 years later.
with
Yeah.
or an Independence Day where he fucking flies the plane into the beam.
Yeah, and it's
same
Quaid.
colors too. Hi, remember
and
me?
he does say "fuck you," right?
All right, well,
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, dude, this is hilarious.
All right. Now
This is it.
We're now the thumbs.
Yes, we should go. Are we gonna go commit crimes?
Let's do some of those crimes, dude.
John is not committing.
Let's go have sushi.
No,
Let's go have sushi and not pay.
Not pay.
That seems really appropriate.
I blame
John. Sorry.
society.
I think that's what you use that symbol for, right?
That's what it's
No,
probably
he's
for,
like,
yes.
and he's like, no, you're just a
suburban
white
punk.
You're a white suburban
Just like
punk
me.
just like me.
like me.
It still hurts.
It's all